If you're a business owner running Google Ads and you're still sending your traffic to a website rather than a high converting landing page, then I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're wasting thousands of pounds per month. In this video, I'm going to break down how you can build a high converting landing page that massively increases your leads for the same amount of spend, and why you should take this approach. So without further ado, let's get straight into it, and I'm going to share the strategy, the landing page setup that works for our clients. So let's go and get started. Okay, so you could be asking, if you're running Google Ads or you're completely new to it, why do I need a landing page? Why can't I just send traffic to a website? So what a website really is, it's kind of an online directory. It's a place where someone can come and hopefully find whatever they need to about your business. The thing it's not, and why it falls down when you're sending cold traffic to your site through Google Ads, is the reason being that you want to, in one place, have this landing page that basically convinces the prospect why they should trust your business, why they should choose to take the next step with you. Whereas your website might have all of this, it's going to be in different places, and that prospect isn't going to know what to do. When they don't know what to do, the likelihood is they leave your website. So what a landing page does so effectively, it has everything that you really need to persuade someone about your service and get them to take the next step in one place. There's no fluff, there's no searching around the site, and a website will inevitably have lower conversion rates because often people don't see everything they need to in one place, and what that means is they will leave your site and go and look at what your competitors do. So that's why a landing page is better, and for you as a business owner, you're going to have higher conversion rates from the same ad spend, so a lower cost per lead, which is always a good thing. So what does a Google Ads landing page actually need? What are the core components? So the first thing you need to think about is social proof. You've got to be aware that this traffic is completely cold. They haven't heard about your business before 99% of the time. So you need to think about things like reviews. Anything from your clients where they've had a great service and they've left a review, you can get this screenshots on the landing page. Also any industry accreditations that prove that you're good at what you do, years in business, number of customers helped. Also, what it can be a game changer is third-party review sites, so things like Trustpilot and Google reviews. So as well, make sure whenever you've had a new client, make sure you're getting those third-party reviews. And I've actually got another video on the site, on the channel, saying about how you can do this very passively. So that's one of the first things you want: social proof. You want kind of that backup that people really trust you, and you're a legitimate company. Someone, when they submit their details, isn't going to get ripped off. So that's what you're doing to convince this cold traffic that you're someone that can be trusted. So the next part is you want to sell the next step. And that's what I mean here is sell the next step in your sales process. So one of the biggest mistakes is with landing pages that I see is people are trying to sell their end service. And I would actually say it's worthwhile testing this to start with, but most times people are pretty savvy on the internet in terms of when it's get a free consultation call, for example, is the call to action. People are aware that this is a sales call, but a lot of people will kind of push the final outcome and say, like, sign up today or something like that. But really we want to give them a reason to submit their details, give them an incentive to take that first step, and kind of accept that 9 times out of 10 we're not going to convert everyone. There's going to be, say, 3 to 5% of the market who love what you do. They're ready to almost sign away and get your service, purchase your property, whatever that may be. But most people aren't. So it's about those micro steps. And I'll show this in an example in a little bit, which will make it a lot clearer what I'm saying here in terms of how you can sell the next step. rather than selling that final outcome. So you also, on your landing page, this is really important, you want to resolve your ideal client's pain. And the first step in this is obviously understanding who your ideal client is, what they look like. And then it's just about selling the dream outcome, showing how you can get them to that dream outcome, and do things like reduce the risk, increase the likelihood of them getting the end result. So let's give a quick example of this. So if your client, say, is looking for rental properties, let's give this example, they're ending up spending loads of time on Rightmove. Rather than saying, we will find your dream property, or we will secure your dream property, what you can say is, we will help you take away that pain of having to browse homes endlessly, and we're just going to help you through that process. You don't need to say, we will provide this end service. You really need to resolve your ideal client's pain in the short term. What can you take away from that situation? And this very much links to sell the next step, not the end result. You want to try to resolve the pain as best as you can. And one good thing you can do here is write out a big list of their pain points. So trouble finding properties, unreliable agents, anything else that might be an issue, having to go to multiple viewings, and then you can just write down a list of what you're going to do to resolve that, how you're the best option, and you're going to really solve all their pain points. You're going to make it really easy, you're going to make it simple, you're going to be easy to contact. You need to resolve your ideal client's pain. You also, as it's Google Ads, you want to cater to someone's search, what they're searching, their search term. So the first part of that is, let's start with catering to someone's search term. If they've searched for Cambridge new builds, then in the headline and on multiple times on the page, you want to focus on Cambridge new builds. And the great thing about landing pages, if you're targeting slightly different areas, or different markets, if you're someone searching for Cambridge new builds and someone might be searching for Oxford new builds, then you want to have the two separate landing pages, and that's going to increase your conversion rate and increase the relevance. So that's going to be positive in terms of your campaigns. The next thing is awareness. Is the person you're targeting with your keywords, and you will need to think a bit about this and ask ChatGPT too. Firstly, are they aware that they have a problem? Are they aware that your service is available? Because that's going to be very different in terms of what you put on the page. If they're completely familiar with your service and what you do, then that's not going to be a problem. You're not going to need to explain your service too much. You're still going to need to explain the process and how you work, because that's going to set you apart. But when you're a service or a product or whatever it is that someone just isn't aware of, they haven't heard of that solution, a lot of your landing page is going to be dedicated to selling the end result, because that's something that everyone can relate to, but also breaking down how you're going to do that for them. The focus should always be on the dream outcome, the benefit, but people want to know the practicalities, and that comes back to trust as well. And as well, you want to consider what stage of kind of the buyer funnel are they? Are they right at the bottom of the funnel? Can you literally just kind of put your offering out there, and people are, because of the search intent, are they going to be ready? Or is it much more awareness, and you need to, as I say, have a lot more education in there? So those are kind of a few of the things you need to do on the landing page. So now let's get into actually building it. So one of the first things with a Google landing page we will always do is remove the header and footer. Basically, we've got people where we want them, they're on the landing page, we just want them to read the copy. If you have various buttons they can click off on different parts of your site, if they've got social links where they can go to Facebook and start browsing, then we've lost them really. So that's not at all what we want. We want to know that we've got this traffic coming to the site. to the landing page. Is it doing its job of getting people to convert, or is it not? So we remove the header and footer. We don't want to kind of lose people. We want to keep them in this one place while we've got them. And the next part is the hero section, and the hero section is kind of a massive part of it. This is, in terms of things you can change on your landing page, I would be looking at just changing the hero section. And if we set up a landing page that doesn't convert right away, that is where we focus our efforts, on the hero section and making changes. So this is the first thing that people see. It's the first impression they have of your business. So this is my beautiful portrayal of the hero section. So this is just an example. So you might have logo, headline, the dream outcome, sub-headline, what is the unique mechanism, and that is kind of what is your service, what are you offering as the next step, what is something that kind of sets you apart. And I'm going to show you an example of all this to make this a little bit clearer, and then you kind of elaborate a little bit here with sort of the pain points, how you solve them, mention anything that reduces risks or gives them an incentives to click the call to action down here, maybe just an image of if you're selling properties as a property developer, as I'm going to show in a minute, have that, get your social proof in here as well, so people trust you. Cool. And then what I did, I found an advertiser, property developer, selling homes, and I just searched for new builds near me, I think something like that, and got loads. Basically all this landing page was all their kind of different developments. They're like a massive developer, and really the problem here is I then need to click in here, but there's nothing off the bat that really makes me trust this company. I can just see they're a big developer. That's really about it. So this is what I've redesigned, and I'll walk you through kind of each of the stages that I've outlined. So just as you can see, taking that image here, added in kind of this trust symbol. If they've done a lot of developments and they've sold out all their developments, you could even change this to 40 plus sold out developments, then that's going to add a lot of social proof. They had a few of these bits down here at the bottom of the page, just like trust symbols, but if they've got a Trustpilot or Google reviews, I would also get these in. One thing I like to do with the landing pages is just chuck something in quotation marks. Obviously, if you can use an actual quote, that's always going to be better. But these Cambridge new builds are perfect for young families, and I've gone with the theme of this is kind of perfect for families. And you would then, with your Google Ads ad copy, you would want to specify that family, perfect homes for your family, whatever it is, forever homes for your family, in the actual ad copy to bring people through who are more inclined towards that. And then there's going to be a better match with the landing page. But what I've tried to do here is, yes, got the dream outcome in here, and this is a little bit different format, but discover your forever home in Cambridge before someone else does. So I've added in a bit of scarcity. They're potentially seeing as well that 70% sold. So this is trying to sell the dream outcome, but basically saying that it's so popular that you need to get a move on it and trying to give someone an incentive. What I've seen with most property developers when they're running Google Ads is they just kind of chuck the development on there. This is what it is. This is where the homes are. That is it. There's nothing too persuasive. So getting in some scarcity there does sell the dream outcome. And then below this we've got the body copy. We just got a few bullets. We still want people to know what we're selling. So we've put in 2 5-bedroom homes, also the price point. We don't want people coming through this form if they're not super qualified. A few benefits. And then I guess where I've said selling the next step, one of the things I mentioned was how we can achieve that, how we can get someone curious about taking the next step. So one of the things I did to do this was, and if that's not enough, if you register your interest today, you have a chance of winning a £150 John Lewis voucher. This is also knowing if someone is sort of interested in that sort of home, they're looking to move, a John Lewis voucher is something that is really going to resonate with that market. Also, I've got, what I like to do is kind of lay out the next steps. So click below, enter your details, tell someone exactly what's going to happen, and tell them what the outcome is going to be. So we'll send more details about the development, including incentives. So I've mentioned there are incentives available, but really the main thing we want as a developer in this case, we want to get that person's details. So rather than putting the incentives on the page, yes, you could test that. What I'm doing here is kind of adding that carrot at the end for this person, so they're thinking, right, this looks interesting. God, it does look it looks in high demand, these properties. Right, we might get a John Lewis voucher as well if we just submit our details. And oh, cool, there's incentives. And what the end result is hopefully going to be is someone is clicking through on this form, registering their interest. Because there's curiosity, they're getting something in return. We're not just asking them to register their interest, because as I said, that's only going to get maybe the 5 to 10% who are super interested. We want to kind of open it up to people who might be more in the awareness stage but still searching for this term, and just make sure our ad spend is working harder by increasing our conversion rate. And then when someone clicks register my interest here, what we tend to do is we like to have a pop-up. So that would pop up and with a few questions. And one thing that works really well, which would be worth considering, is some sort of framing it as kind of a questionnaire, because that makes it feel like they're getting more in return. For this case, it's really, in terms of a property developer, it's kind of these ads here that they're sending people to are very bottom of funnel. So I think going for the register my interest makes sense. But if it's an example might be property investing, if someone's interested in discovering homes, one thing you might like to do is you put in a questionnaire, answer your questionnaire, and well understand about your scenario. Basically, if you put in a questionnaire, you can use that same wording of well understand about your scenario and provide personalized advice. So that is kind of the value you're providing. That is the next step you're selling, as I mentioned before. So that would just then pop up and throw out a few questions that they answer, including submitting their details. And the good thing about having a pop-up form is it's much easier to track when people are actually clicking on that. So you can set up conversion tracking, which I'll cover in another video, that basically says once someone's at this page, even if they're not submitting the form, are they clicking register my interest? If they're not clicking that at all, then we need to change this hero section. It's just not resonating, or we need to change our ads targeting. So next thing I'd probably have on the landing page is just a little section that includes testimonials. Maybe if you've got an excellent Trustpilot review, excellent Trustpilot status, you put that on there above. Normally 3 reviews, I put the names in quotation marks, pretty simple, but just explains what you do, what you're offering. And it's good as well if you have any frequently asked questions. If one of those testimonials answers that, or answers a pain point that people commonly have in your industry, then it's important to get those in. It's going to help persuade people to submit their details. The next part is, after that, I would tend to have a bit where it's just expanding on pain points. So let's think about the property development example. So let's go back up here. So it'd be expanding on maybe what some of the other developers do wrong. So that could be things like, if there are a lot of delays on the project, then what you might want to do is get into it along the lines of most property developers in Cambridgeshire. They have a lot of delays. It can take a lot of time for you to move in, but we actually guarantee this result. So you're walking through the pain points and sharing how this is different, and you can really just persuade someone and push your offer, what sets you apart. And also understand your audience. Say stuff that makes it clear that you understand what they probably face, maybe with other property developers, other estate agents, what makes it difficult to find the right home, and resonate why you understand them, and actually how your team can help when they submit their details. And also really important, make sure you have this call to action, the register interest call to action in this example, all in each of these sections. The other thing is I like to have sort of a benefits tab. These are just the things that would, in this case, really set the development apart. What kind of stands out? Like to have a little icon, a headline for what the core benefit is. So for this development could be initiatives available, save up to X amount. Anything really that sets your service or offer apart. Then this is really important as well, having something like this where you've got a 3-step process. I always like to have the current step is basically fill in your details. So fill in your details, and in this case it would be enter the draw for the John Lewis voucher and receive more details about the development and the initiatives available, and then you could put in brackets saving you up to £10,000, for example. Then the next step is typically the sales call. So in this instance, it could be once you've received the details that we mentioned previously, one of our team will be in touch just to see whether it's a fit and understand whether the development is right for you, any challenges that may come in the way. And then the end result, I always put as kind of a clear benefit. So in this instance, that might be something like secure your forever home if you're still interested. So I say kind of a no obligation part. If you're still interested, then it's time to secure your forever home. Obviously, no obligation to move ahead. So that's just kind of reducing, I guess, the mental pressure of going ahead with something if they know that they don't have to take the next step. But I always try and sell the end result in step 3. And then I have a final call to action as well, which is basically a repetition of the hero section, just in other words and just pure text. And the final thing, I have an alternate call to action at the bottom of the page, and that is always something along the lines of want to get in touch, speak to our team directly, an option to call. Not every business is going to want people ringing them up who might not be ideal prospects, but I think it's a good option. I've tested it where I have only the call to action, so the form, versus having the call to action and the call link at the bottom of the page. And when you have the call link, it actually just means you get more conversions, more people getting in contact. If you remove that, it's not like more people come through the form. There's normally some people who just want to get a bit more information or just speak to someone. So I think it's always good to have that alternate option. And other general points: make sure your site is fast and kind of set up really well for mobile, because for Google Ads, most of your traffic will come through mobile. But that is kind of everything you need to know about building a Google Ads landing page. I'll drop my LinkedIn below, so if you have any questions about your landing page, then actually feel free to send it through, or if you're comfortable, drop your landing page in the comments and I will provide my feedback on the hero section, share what I would do if I was in your situation, if your ads aren't converting, or if you're completely new to Google Ads and you're not really sure what you should be doing with your landing page, then also drop me a message on LinkedIn, drop a comment below, and I will be in touch to help you out. If you found that video useful, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.